hope your mic is going to work. I'm sure it will, Ruben. Okay, you guys ready for Ruben Resendez, who is just gets so much done in a day. Okay, our next speaker is an internet digital marketing thought leader and president of Adhere. His mission is to inspire others to elevate themselves through digital connection. And tonight, he's going to elevate us in person. Please welcome Ruben Resendez, my friend.
All right, let's see. Is it working? Mic's working. We're good. Oh, we got Jimmy Dran here. We got Gabe here too. So good to see so many of my friends here in EO. Awesome. Welcome, EO Silicon Valley. I'll admit to you, thank you, Sally Lou, for keeping me accountable because my wife and I just got back from Cabo San Lucas yesterday, and we wanted to stay there. And we said, okay, maybe we'll just say we're a little sick because I'm so glad that you had said that you're a little anxious because I'm trying something a little different today. Usually I'll freestyle these talks and I'll just kind of talk from the heart, but Sally Lou has been an amazing coach. So thank you, Sally Lou, for putting this together. And thank you, EO Silicon Valley, for having me here too. Garage is here, one of the best event coordinators ever too, a part of the board. So once again, like I said, my name's Ruben Resendez. I've been an EO member for over 7 years. And what you might not know about me is that being average makes me anxious. And you know, taking the alternative path is where I've always felt most at home. And let me tell you, when I was 6 years old, while all of my friends were playing football and their parents were putting them into baseball, guess what my parents did? They put me into bowling. So I had bowling trophies. I had a great average too. My average was about 180 and all. I did well, but I had bowling trophies. I was a little embarrassed. I didn't want my friends to see my bowling trophies. But I say all that because I'm very comfortable being a lone wolf. And thank goodness for EO. Is there anybody in here that is comfortable being a lone wolf? You know, as an entrepreneur, some people are a little comfortable being a lone wolf. Many of us, wow, I'm actually really surprised about that right there too. That's actually the exact reason why I joined EO. I didn't have friends who were business owners. I needed to find people I could talk to about business. Gabe and I have had great conversations about business too, and I found that through EO. And when I joined EO over 7 years ago, for 6 hours straight during Forum, everybody's in Forum here, right? And if not, you should get into Forum, one of the most powerful things in EO. For 6 hours straight, I had to turn off my phone, and I had to make sure that I was present for 6 hours straight, which meant that I had to learn how to delegate. I had to learn actually how to hire people so that way my business didn't stop running for those 6 hours. So I'm so thankful for EO, because if it weren't for EO, I'll probably still be operating as a lone wolf today. But luckily, I'm very coachable. I've got a coach for speaking. I've got a coach for nutrition. I've got a coach for fitness. I've got a coach for spirituality. I've got a coach for relationships. I've got a coach for everything. And I've learned that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So what do I stand for? I stand for my personal core values, which I call the 5S, which are faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. And I practice those every single day in that order. And if I don't practice them every single day, my day's a little off. My wife is here, she'll tell you that if I don't practice them, then my day's a little off over there too. But naturally, it's kind of weird for me to speak up here because naturally I'm an introvert. Anybody an introvert here? A little bit introverted? There we go, we got a few. Because I'm in internet marketing. I'm behind the computer all day. That's why I love internet marketing, because I get to stand behind the computer and be an introvert. So I'm naturally an introvert, but that's why personal growth is so important to me. I wasn't the kid who grew up selling lemonade as a kid whatsoever. My mom and dad, I didn't grow up with entrepreneurs in the family. My mom and dad, my mom worked in the graveyard shift just to make a couple extra dollars an hour. My dad worked at the water company. I grew up on the east side of San Jose, which most people would say is the wrong side of the tracks. I didn't have any role models in my life whatsoever. I didn't see what I could be in my neighborhood whatsoever. The neighborhood role model and the most successful person in my neighborhood was a neighborhood drug dealer. So I had to start reprogramming my mind and reframe that, hey, you could be a good person and you could make money at the same time. So I had to work 10 times harder on myself than the average person, which has made me obsessed with becoming better. It made me obsessed with personal development. So that's when I picked up a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Anybody read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill? All right, we got some friends in here. So that's when I realized that if people who came from more disadvantaged backgrounds than I came from could be successful, then I could too. So that opened my eyes, and just like that, a childhood friend introduced me to a marketing company, and all of a sudden I started to see what success could look like right there, and boom, suddenly, just like life does, takes a little bit of a left turn. I became a single dad, And it was in my early 20s, actually, as a single dad. The girl I'd been dating for 3 months got pregnant with my son. Man, this wasn't supposed to happen to me. This was supposed to happen to my brother. I was the good son. My older brother was the one that always got into trouble. I learned from him what not to do. And here I was, a single dad. It was 2008. The financial crisis hit. And so I said, man, I'm a single dad. I've got a kid on the way. I need a job and a paycheck like yesterday. So I went on to Craigslist. I don't even know if Craigslist is still active anymore whatsoever, but it was 2008. I found this internet marketing job. I had no idea about the industry, nor did I even know it existed in 2008, but I needed a paycheck like yesterday. But I did have faith that this business would lead me to something bigger. So here I was, a few years into this job, and I started seeing all this success where there was 19 and 20-year-olds that were making these websites and doing internet marketing, and we're sending $250,000 checks every single month. They were traveling the world, and I said, man, what is this? I became obsessed with it. And I said, you know, why am I making my boss rich when I could actually make myself rich? I gotta learn how to do this thing for myself. So what I started to do, I'll put my son to sleep at 9 p.m. and I would go and work on this business that's called Ad Here Today and figure out how to do it for myself. I would sleep 4 hours a night, wake up, take my son to childcare, and then go to the gym, go to the job, and then I would do it all over again. I would take my laptop to work, and during lunchtime, I'll make sales call working on this thing called Ad Here. And you know, my body was there at the job, but my mind wasn't. So obviously, what happened? I wasn't producing the numbers I was producing before. So guess what? My boss fired me. Again, I started thinking, man, why do bad things keep on happening to me? Why do bad things keep on happening to me? So I went on unemployment for about 6 months, because unemployment lasts for about 6 months. I lived on food stamps. I paid child support. I lost my house. My house went into foreclosure, and here I was in my early 30s, moving back in with my parents on the east side of San Jose, with all my childhood posters still on the walls, of the Papa Roach posters and all the concert posters still on the walls that my parents still left there. But not only was it me moving back in with my parents, it was also my son and I moving back in with my parents. Man, that was embarrassing. So again, I thought, my goodness, I sat there, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? So you know what? That's when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I learned that which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. So I began to change the story I was telling myself. I said, things weren't happening to me, they were actually happening for me. So I just couldn't see it at that time. So I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. But you know what that did? It made me strive for more. I became a young single dad, which helped me find an industry I became absolutely obsessed about. Yes, I lost my house and went broke and went on food stamps. But guess what that did? That made me respect a penny so much more. So you know what? I dropped out of college so I could pay my bills. But you know what that did? It made me become obsessed with personal development and a new way of learning. So I quickly learned how to divorce the story and marry the truth. So you know, I wonder what story you're telling yourself today that you need to divorce. What story are you telling yourself? And what truth do you need to start telling yourself about your potential of what's really in you? That's something to think about today, right there. So let me take you back. With just $300 in my pocket, here I was, with an education from YTU. Anybody been to YTU before? No, nobody? YouTube University? My education from YouTube University helped me build the business that I run today. Today, which in simple terms is the Yelp of education services. I had no idea how to build a business, but guess what? YouTube did. Now we can say ChatGPT does. ChatGPT will build the whole entire business for you today. But you know what? From simple as picking a domain name, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to hire my first employee. I didn't know how to build incentive plans, but YouTube did, and I found all my answers there on YouTube. I wasn't gonna wait for somebody to hand me success. I had to go out and build it and take it for myself. So that's what I did. I saw a gap. And I had some experience in the digital marketing world, but I saw a gap in the business, so I became obsessed. I started recruiting my old team members that I used to work with who got fired from my previous job. They got thrown away, but they had the stats of success. So I was over here recruiting them, and I'm a big Oakland A's fan. So I said, man, I feel like Billy Beane in the movie Moneyball. I'm over here recruiting people that got thrown away from this previous business, but they had the stats of success. So now here we are, 13 years later, on pace over the next 2 years to do over $100 million a year in gross revenue, from $300 in my pocket to now over $100 million a year in revenue. I've learned that bad things don't happen to me. They actually happen for me. And that's when my business and my life are proof right here that the creator of the universe will deliver every single time. The faith I had when I took that internet marketing job was finally paying off right here. And personally, you know, when I think back at it, becoming a single dad shaped me into the man I am today. That absolutely is. You know, my son's mom, a girl I barely even knew at that time, she was a stickler about our co-parenting schedule. I was so young and so angry at her. If I didn't stick to that schedule, she was taking me to court. So I said, I'm gonna stick to that schedule. I'm not going to court whatsoever. You know, at that time, I had a lot of hate in my heart for her, absolutely. But I started changing the story I was telling myself because, you know, having hate in your heart is like drinking poison, hoping the other person's gonna die. I'll say that again. Having hate in your heart is like drinking poison, hoping the other person's gonna die. That makes no sense, does it? It makes absolutely no sense. So that's not good for anyone. So let me tell you what this true story is. Her strict schedule made me so accountable, and anybody who owns a business knows that you need discipline, you need accountability, and that strict schedule made me accountable, which was essential to building the business that I have today. So once again, divorce the story and marry the truth. So now when I look at my son Noah, I see he was born for a reason. I see everything he is and says has pointed me in this direction to stand in front of you today. I'm here because he was born. You know, while I was building my business, I went to this event. It was a Tony Robbins event, actually. Has anybody been to a Tony Robbins event? We got a few over here, too. Anybody walked on fire at the Tony Robbins event? There we go. We got some fire walkers that are in here. So here I was, first time I ever been to a Tony Robbins event. And after a full day of reprogramming, jumping, and the whole entire deal, it was time to walk on fire. And I said, no, I'm gonna skip it. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. I haven't eaten all day. We just flew in that day. I'm gonna skip it. I'm gonna start jetting for the door. And as soon as I start jetting for the door, Tony Robbins says, okay, now pair with the stranger and tell them why you're gonna walk on fire. It's like, oh, great. So I get paired with this lady, and this lady starts getting emotional about why she's gonna walk on fire. So I said, oh my goodness, that's it. I've gotta walk on fire. I've gotta do it. I was staying. And you know, that's the moment that I learned that I'll do more for other people than I would do for myself. And that's also what shaped my whole entire business philosophy, that the more I help others get to where they wanna go, the more I will get to where I wanna go. So now, my whole entire mission, just like Sally Lou said, is to inspire others to elevate their lives. I wanna give young people who look like me hope. I wanna give people who grew up on the wrong side of the tracks hope. I wanna give people who dropped out of college hope. I wanna give people who didn't grow up in entrepreneur families hope. I wanna give people that talk like me, that look like me hope. That, hey, if I can do something with my life, so can you. Absolutely anybody could. So what my company does is connect students to universities through the digital process and social media marketing. And when a student matches to a university and they're the first in their family to go to college, they're changing their last name forever. And it's amazing that we just put together an ad and put that in front of them, and it changed their last name forever, which is gonna change legacies forever. Now just saying it, it blows my mind that we're able to do that, that this little thing that we created in my mom and dad's room over here still is able to do that. You know, I'm married now. I've got 2 boys. One of the boys is here, obviously an absolute stud. My wife is here too. She runs our nonprofit called the Adhere Foundation, where we serve underserved communities, which are very similar communities to the community I grew up in too. We give them the right tools and the right resources to take the next level in their life. And you know, one of the best quotes that I've heard that I'll leave you here with is that Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. You know, when I look back, I'm so glad I grew up on the east side of San Jose. I'm so glad I dropped out of college. I'm so glad I didn't grow up in an entrepreneur family. I'm so glad I got fired. I'm so glad I had my son. You know, everything that made me question why me actually built me into who I am today. I just couldn't see it until I looked backwards. So when you leave here today, take some time to look backwards and say, you'll see a pattern that helped build you into who you are today. Let that be your power. And you know, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe you walked into this room today for a reason. I believe you joined EO for a reason. I believe everything that led you to the point that you're at right now has been for a reason. There's no such thing as coincidences that you're listening to me today and you're listening to these speakers today. I don't believe in any coincidence whatsoever, but I can't tell you why, because you're the only one that could tell you why that makes you different. So whatever it is that makes you different, embrace it, be that. That's your little piece of magic. For me, taking the average path isn't who I am, and whoever you are, be that. You know, EO, thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for listening to my story. Thank you.
Ruben and his fresh kicks. Like, are you kidding me? That was so good. Are you proud of your dad, Jesse? You're proud of your dad. That was so good. So great, Ruben. Love your messaging.